Hi guys, so let us begin with coding our assignment. And first of all, you have to create the data set. Okay, so this is the data that they have given us in our assignment. So what we have to do is we have to simply manually create our database, and here it is. So I've put all the values into a CSV file and I've saved it. Okay, so that's it. So this is how you have to manually create the data set. Okay. Now let us see what installations do we need to get our code running. Okay. So first of all, we need to visualize our decision tree once we are done with prediction and building our model. Okay. So for that, for visualization, you need to install this library in your system. So you have to fire this command on your terminal if you are using Ubuntu, and if you are a Windows user, then you just have to remove this sudo from here and fire the rest of the command as it is. And this simply works for each and every command present over here. Okay. Next thing, we have to install Scikit-Learn library, which is a widely used library for machine learning algorithms. So this is the command for Scikit-Learn, installing Scikit-Learn. And then we have to install NumPy, which is widely used for performing mathematical operations on the data. So and you have to install it using this command. And last is Pandas library. So when you work with a data frame, or let's say when you have to handle the data sets, you need to install pandas in Python. So for that, you just have to install it using this command. Okay, so that's it with the installation. And now we can begin with our coding part. So first of all, we have to import our libraries. So see, before we begin, let me quickly tell you that you can code your assignment in a GEditor or Visual Studio Code or Jupyter Notebook as well. So as far as industry standards are concerned, we prefer to work on data science or machine learning projects on Jupyter Notebook. So I'll be using Jupyter Notebook because it is very handy, and we can run our code module by module on the cells in Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so but if you are comfortable with GEditor, you can paste all the code in your editor and save the file with .py extension, and after that you have to simply run the file from the terminal by firing the command python space filename.py, and your code will run perfectly fine. Okay, so that's it. And now let me quickly open my Jupyter notebook. So go to your terminal or command prompt, type you have to install Jupyter notebook first. Okay, so it is already installed in my system, so I'll be using Jupyter notebook, and this will start Jupyter Notebook for me. It runs on your local host, and it will pop up a browser where you can start coding your assignment. And then you just have to click on new and open Python 3 notebook. And yes, this is the notebook where we will be coding our assignment. Okay, so first of all, let us import all our libraries. And this is a cell, guys. So in a cell you have to write your code. Okay, so you can create multiple cells as well. Okay, so now to run this particular cell, what you will do is hit on this run button. And yes, if this cell runs perfectly fine without any error, then that means we have already imported all of our libraries, and we are good to move ahead. So see, here you can see one, and that means it has run for the first time and without any error. So that means we are good to move ahead. Okay, so moving on, next thing you have to do is you have to import your data set, and you have to slice it down. Okay, so why do you have to do that? I'll tell you. So yeah, so what does this line do? This is nothing but we have imported pandas right here. Okay, so what we are doing is we are simply using pandas dot read csv function to read our csv file. Okay, now that I am using Windows, I have to give the entire path of my data set using these double slashes and all. So if you are working on Ubuntu terminal, then you just have to uh, type a backward slash for that. Okay, and that will work fine. Okay, so this read CSV function basically takes the input of your path of your data set. Okay, now after that, what I'm doing is I'm simply printing the head of the data. So what does that mean? My data set is this. Okay, so out of this we will just print 4 or 5 values. So how do we do that? With the help of dot head function. Okay, so df is nothing but a data frame, and dot head is the function which will help us to print the top head values of our data set. Okay, now after that, uh, see, now what our assignment says is that we have to, with the help of these independent values, we have to predict this dependent value, right? So we have to take all these independent values in one variable and dependent value in another. Okay, so for that we will use x as our independent variable. So it is independent variable, right? And y is our dependent variable. Okay, so see, what is df.iloc? So it is the it takes the location of the data frame. So you can consider a data frame as the rows and columns. Okay, once we print this thing, you will pretty easily understand what this code is doing actually. Okay, so till then understand what I'm telling you. Okay, so df.iloc is used to slice the data set. So what does this mean? Take all the rows, okay, and out of all the columns, take all the columns till -1. What does this -1 say signifies? It signifies that leave the last column and take all other columns. Okay, why do we want to skip the last column? Because this column, this buys column, is nothing but the dependent values, right? Variables. So we will skip that, and rest everything will be taken, will be stored in x, right? And what do we have to store in y? In y we just have to store this particular column, right? Buys column. So that's it. So df.iloc consider all the rows and only take -1 column. Okay, dot values is used to take the actual values of that column in a form of an array or list. Okay, so it will be stored in y. Okay, now let us print what are the values that we have in our y. Okay, now we will simply run this cell, and yeah, there we go. See, print df.head has printed our head of the data set. Okay, so see, and yeah, this is our data set, right? All these features is our entire data set, and the next thing that we have printed is y. So our dependent variable y consists of these things. See, this is in the form of list. So this dot values will convert the values in the last column into a list. Okay, so that's it for this particular snippet.